I'm out to help business leaders make the most out of it. I help coach them through what good content is, what we go through, what makes them tick, what makes them unique to everyone else,
Right.
and we create content from there. It's a bit like having a personal content strategist, so that's kind of cool. And I also help them edit their content so that they can focus on just creating and telling their best stories. And I was the dummy that spent like a decade in social media. So let me use my craft,
Right.
and make that the best LinkedIn story that's possible.
Hi, and welcome to Helping People Perform, the podcast that gives you fascinating insights into those people whose chosen vocation is to help others perform at their best. From consultants to teachers, sports coaches to financial advisors, all of my guests share a passion for getting the most out of individuals, teams, and organisations. Enjoy the episode. Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Helping People Perform. Delighted to be joined today. We have founder and LinkedIn consultant at Mean Right Hook. Welcome to the show today, Anthony Leung.
Thanks so much for having me, Paul. So excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. And anyone seeing this on the video can notice that Anthony is either 9'6" and is massive in a standard room, or
That's exactly what it
looks
is.
like he's sitting in a box. But before we get kicked off, firstly, on the day of recording, happy birthday for yesterday, sir. I know you had
Oh,
a
thank you.
yeah.
Well, someone's been checking up on my LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly. You got to use the LinkedIn when you're talking to the experts. But yeah, so I hope you had a good day there. And let's talk about your background then. What got you to where you are today?
It's funny because I think I started off in print actually. I'm one of the very rare people, possibly on the planet Earth, with a university degree in print.
Oh, wow.
Uh, I spent 4 years studying that art form, and then I ditched it. But yeah, so that was in Canada, and shout out to Ryerson, or what was Ryerson, and the GCM program. But
Right.
we were one of the very few programs on planet Earth to be studying print. We were one of the last classes to put like film on things and
Wow.
create plates. So and then the year after us, they just went, "Oh, we're all going digital." So they just press a button and plates would come out. So that's that's a sign of, I guess, all the changing times that we were already experiencing then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started off from there, ended up in marketing. When I was in moved from Canada to UK, started off as a SEO copywriter, and then moved myself quite by accident into the charity sector,
Okay.
where there was no budget to do anything.
Right.
So and that was actually a great thing because if I think a lot of problems marketers have is that we tend to, when we have a problem, we kind of just throw money at it and we
Right.
hope that it'll go away. In the charity sector, all you have is your content. All
Right.
you have is your story and your purpose. And so that gave me a lot of time to kind of refine what good content looks like and what's responsive to people.
Right.
And that's where I fell in love with social media. That was remember when Facebook had like great organic reach? That's when that was. Before Mark Zuckerberg decided he wanted to be a billionaire. And yeah, I just fell in love with social media because it's such a great medium to connect with people, or for
Right.
charity to connect your cause directly to your audience,
Mm.
and for brand to connect, your brand values and your personality to the audience. So I went from charity sector over to places like Pret a Manger and Just Eat and
Yep.
apply my craft there. And now I'm doing my own business, Mean Right Hook,
Yeah.
and I help business leaders make the most out of LinkedIn.
Superb. I mean, what a story there. I mean, and it you touched on it a little bit there, but I think the lessons there from the charity sector. A lot of people, maybe you're talking about businesses, maybe you're talking about even individuals. We think, I haven't got any money to spend on this, therefore I can't do anything. There must have been some amazing lessons taken out of that environment where you are so restricted in terms of what did you find that led to more creativity, different thinking, and have you brought those lessons through into what you do now?
100%. I think that when you have nothing, it forces you to be as creative as possible. It
Right.
forces you to take whatever you have and make the most out of it.
Mm.
I think a good illustration of kind of a clash for me was when I first started at Just Eat. My manager gave me a budget to do content, and I was like, "Well, no, I've got a phone here, I've got a camera, I got my team, we can do this." And
Yeah.
so I never really used as much as a budget as I probably should have. But that was my mentality, was like, I wanted content that was as authentic, as real as possible.
Right.
And I wanted things at the time, I wanted things to be as real time as possible as well.
Right.
So but that was when Twitter was it's still called Twitter. And a lot of third screening of television shows were happening.
Right.
And so we use that as a way to get the Just Eat brand out there. It
Mm.
made a lot of sense to have takeaway and watch television. So the character that we're building was somebody who was watching TV and eating takeaway with you, right?
Right.
And so it gave us the license to, if you will, or the right to be funny about TV shows, throw in like takeaway puns. And not once did we think about like, oh, we need to throw a whole big budget and dominate this hashtag. It was more about how do we be relevant to this moment, and
Mm.
how do we make points to stand out in a way where everyone's enjoying this television show in this moment together.
Yeah.
How do we add to that? So that's always been the mentality I've had for social media. That includes Facebook, that includes Twitter, that includes TikTok, and that includes LinkedIn now.
Right. Oh, wonderful! And the other bit I made a note of here, I want to go back to is you mentioned about the print. You've been in that time of transition where we've gone from print to more digital media. Are there any key things from the print media and the print learnings that you had that you think distinguishes your experience from others that as they've come into the social and been sort of purely digital based?
First of all, you make me sound like 1,000 years old. But do you remember when we had print? We had before Facebook, we had to actually to flip a book. No, I'm not sure actually what lessons I've learned from print. Here's where the thing that stood out for me the most in print was that um direct mail, for a successful direct mail campaign to be successful. Um it was judged by like the response rate of like 1%.
Right.
And to me, it was like, what an absolute waste to fire up this massive printer,
Mm.
print so much, you know, postcards or letters or whatever to get 1% return back. And
Mm.
that really jarred me at all times. Even when I was studying at university. And so when I found the digital medium, I'm going, oh, okay, that 1% is still the gold standard, so to speak, but we're not killing all the trees. That's
Right.
great.
Yeah.
So I think that's what made me fall in love with digital, is that it's more sustainable, it's more responsible, but also you're able to get those learnings back from those campaigns, and and adjust on the fly, if you will.
Yeah. Oh, lovely stuff. Because yeah, I think there's so many times that we underestimate the value of different experiences and different perspectives, and particularly in these times of transition. It's not that things used to be done that way, therefore that's the only way it can be done. But there are good things about the way things were previously done that I often see designed out in the new way. So I
Mhm.
think bringing those good things through, but adding to them and adding value to them in the new sense is great.
I I think, I mean, this is completely off topic, but I think print has its own unique value now, right?
Right.
A big thing for me for social media, if you're doing social media for yourself, on LinkedIn or for your company, is surprise and delight.
Right.
I think we underestimate how important it is to let people feel how involved you are in the community by just paying attention. So I think print has a big role that it can play here,
Mm.
where when you have digital experiences or interactions, and if you're able to send somebody something real in the mail that just surprises them, it could be a card with, a customized card with their name on it. It
Yep.
could be a package of sweets because it's something that you guys were talking about on in a conversation on LinkedIn. And then a card. I'm going back to print, but I feel like print has a role here now where it used to be that mass communication, and now it could be reversed, and it's something that can be unique and elevate your digital experiences.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Wonderful, wonderful lessons to be learnt there. So you touched on it a little bit right at the end there. So Mean Right Hook. So tell us a bit about Mean Right Hook, what you do today and who you help and how you help them.
Yeah, I am helping business leaders right now to just make the most out of LinkedIn.
Right.
I find it amazing when I talk to business leaders how many of them just are shy or scared or something. There's something that's holding them back from going onto LinkedIn and making the most out of it for them. And what I mean by that is, creating content about the experiences, making new connections on LinkedIn. And right now, LinkedIn is such I would say a hot platform. It's very strange to say that because it's been around for so long.
Mm.
But I, from what I can tell, I LinkedIn will never be in the press, kind of like TikTok or Instagram, because it's not as sexy.
Right.
But that's, that this thing that's been around for like 30 years, it's making a massive comeback.
Right.
And if you look at the users that are on LinkedIn in the last 5 years, they practically doubled from 500 million to nearly a billion users now.
Yeah.
And about 50% of the traffic that goes to B2B websites come from LinkedIn. So it's a big play for B2B businesses, especially if you're a business leader looking to boost your profile. It's a great place to be seen.
Right.
And so not being able to, create content, not being able to write something, or even just post a picture about what and start connecting with the people that are already following you it's I feel like such a shame.
Mm.
So I'm out to help business leaders make the most out of it. I help coach them through what good content is, what we go through, what makes them tick, what makes them unique to everyone else,
Right.
and we create content from there. It's a bit like having a personal content strategist, so that's kind of cool. And I also help them edit their content so that they can focus on just creating and telling their best stories. And I was the dummy that spent like a decade in social media, so let me use my craft,
Right.
and make that the best LinkedIn story that's possible.
Oh, that's great. And I mean, there's a couple of things around the LinkedIn platform that I've noticed as I've transitioned. I've been in employment for a number of years. I've worked for companies, and I only ever use LinkedIn as an outward facing. It's when I'm looking, I would only get serious about it when I was looking for a job. It's part of the, update your CV, update your LinkedIn profile. And that was it. It was purely looking out. Now that I'm independent, I'm sort of pushing a lot more content out there and want to get that as good as it can be. Do you think, particularly business leaders and others, but particularly business leaders, are missing a trick in terms of how they use LinkedIn to get their profile out there, even if they're not intending in any way of leaving their company?
Well, it's not even about leaving a company, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of business leaders actually accidentally start having a fairly decent following because of their position, right?
Right.
Because of their influence in the real world, if you will. So, and it's kind of like accidentally filling up like an O2 arena, and all the people start coming in and they're waiting for you to say something. The microphone is on, right?
Right.
And so you're like, and they're like looking at you like, are you gonna say something? And if you don't say something, nothing will happen. But if you
Mm.
do say something that connects with all those thousands of people, can you imagine what it does not just for you, but also for the business that you're running, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's great for business leaders, because it's going to raise not only their own profile, but
Mm.
also the profile of the company that they're trying to make succeed, right?
Right. Yep.
So I find a lot of companies very reluctant in using LinkedIn for whatever reason. But I feel like there's a bigger appetite for business leaders to be out there, to be more active.
Right.
And so it gives them an opportunity to not only bring up their company's profile, but also showcase and connect with real human beings in a real human way,
Right.
because it's a personal brand.
Mm.
So so there's two I guess two streams of content they could be creating.
Yeah.
There's the, oh, look at, oh, I'm a business person, look what I know what I'm doing. There's also the person, the side of them of what makes them tick, what's important to them.
Right.
I got for example, I got a client who's very much, into sustainability. That's very important to him, his business, and the people he works with. And when he talks about that, that's actually a way to connect with people he wants to work with in the future.
Right.
And when he talks about, say, sustainability in a hopeful way, and it gathers people around his content, all of a sudden it's all these people that you might not have said hello to, or you might not, or you've had them on the list for a longest time, and this piece of content that is connecting with them at this moment becomes an excuse for you to make that connection again.
Right.
So that's the power of LinkedIn. I feel that business leaders can really, I don't want to use the word exploit, but until I can find another word, let's go with that one.
And it truly is like a win-win situation, isn't it? Because the people who are your audience are looking for value from you. They're looking for insights. They're looking for how you tick. Because if I put my own sort of hat on here and say, as a consultant, as a contractor, I'm going out there and I'm saying, who are the people out there who I think I could connect with and add value to, who I might want to, have a working relationship in some ways, or just learn from them in terms of what's happening in the market that could help me provide some insights that help me with my offering to the wider market, not just them. And then for the individual, you've got this amazing ability to connect with an audience that's going to give you real-time feedback as to exactly, are you hitting a nerve here? Are you hitting on the right thing? It's marketing content. And marketing data that it's almost free in some ways, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's free, but you got to put the effort in, right?
Yeah.
That's the cost. Although effort's not really a cost that I mind at all.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that yeah, just being to your point, and maybe to the point of this podcast, being helpful is actually, I feel like is the goal of some of the content, right?
Right.
I think that if we put our real hard edge marketing hat on, and we're like, well, what's the return? Everything I need to put in has to have an ROI. You're never going to succeed on LinkedIn on a personal branding level, because you're there to want to make money, and it's going to be so obvious to people. It's going to be so obvious that all your pieces of content is just an advertisement for your service, right? What works is that you're out there creating content that's helpful to others, and that you're not always out there as a salesperson.
Right.
And when you're able to make that connection, a real human connection, that's when you've earned the right to sell them anything.
Right.
So that's why I like to create with my clients, is that and the clients I've worked with so far has all been on board with it, which is great.
Yeah.
And actually before they even signed up, they were already on board with it, so that makes it even better. But it's, if you're looking to make that sale, and if you're looking to go, I need a channel that gives me give a direct ROI number and stuff like that. I think you're better off running ads.
Right.
Uh, but if you're out there to play the long ball, to build a brand that's memorable, that's on top of minds of people, and that invokes emotions from people, use your LinkedIn and use your personal channels, and use organic.
Right. No, it's a great lesson there. And one of the things I noticed when doing a little research on what you do and how you do it there, you talk a bit about mechanics of what happens and the machines that are involved there. Is that sort of deliberate wording that you talk about and talk us through the mechanics that you look at, and the way in which you help people understand what's working for them right now and what could work for them?
So I guess there's maybe two major components to the mechanics of LinkedIn. One is what you're talking about, right? And that's from your core, if you will. So when I first start with my clients, I like them what I call a starter kit. It's about 8 questions that ask about why you're in your business, what you do for them, why people come to you,
Mm.
et cetera, et cetera. So shout out to Simon Sinek. It's a bit like what he says, start with why. It's
Yep.
that's where it's always the richest content, because the what, a lot of people, I'm sure, if you just look on paper, are very similar to what you do. But it's going to be the why that connects with people, and that makes you stand out and makes you different. I've completely forgot about the second point. Hold on. I think I have ADHD. I was so into the first point. I was like, I forgot the second point. Remind me again.
So we're talking about the mechanics of looking and auditing people's current setup, and maybe looking at how they could do something different and set themselves up for success in future.
Yeah, so the first part of mechanics is the why. Let's come down. Let's bring ourselves to understanding the whys is what makes us different, which is what makes our tone of voice, which makes us how we behave on social media, on LinkedIn.
Right.
And the second part of the mechanics is well, it's the technical side, if you will. So everybody has a story. Everybody can write 180 characters or 2 paragraphs or whatever it is on LinkedIn. But what LinkedIn and social media specifically, I guess LinkedIn more specific, but social media wise, is that it's a different way of storytelling. And we need to understand that, because traditional storytelling, like in a movie, it's a lot like character building, introduction of character building, slow build, and at the end it's like, oh, big explosion and big ending. And on social media, you don't have that luxury, because you've got about 2 seconds of time to earn your followers' attention, right? So on LinkedIn, you have the first 2 lines of your caption and the visuals for your followers to judge whether or not this piece of content is worth their time. Because if it's not worth their time, they're skipping, right? And unless if you're like a Stephen Bartlett or Leah Turner, it's going to be very hard for you to earn. You haven't earned that trust from them that every piece of your content is going to be a banger. So that real estate, that first 2 lines of your caption and your visuals is prime real estate and the most important part of your story and your content. So what we have to do is kind of flip how we do our storytelling, and the banger has to be where you start. That first 2 line has to show what's at least tease them with what value they're going to get. Is it an inspirational story? Is it something with stats that are going to blow your mind? Is it a solution to your problem that you've been thinking about for the last 3 years that you've been losing a lot of sleep and lost all your hair for? So it's that's going to stop them from, so that they can continue reading your story. That's why I help my clients edit. It's because of that kind of storytelling element, where not a lot of people are used to, and that's fine. But I would rather have my clients spend their time telling their story their best way possible, and let me kind of rejig that so that it works.
Yeah. And are there, what would you say, sort of couple of top tips for people to just up their LinkedIn game? Quickly, easy hacks or something they could do. Anything that stands out that people aren't doing right now that you think, if you do one of the 2 things, it's going to up your level, not to the level of working with you, obviously, but to that next level of individual.
No, selfishly, I just want LinkedIn to suck less. So I want everybody's game to go up. So every time I go onto LinkedIn, it's just a wonderful place with great stories.
Yeah.
But the first thing I tell people is loosen up that tie, right? That most people are so afraid. There's just 2 things they see, right? Either they see the really corporate side of LinkedIn, which, everybody's like, well, we're pleased to announce blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that tie is so far up. Loosen it up a little bit, right? Be yourself, be human, be casual Friday version of yourself.
Right.
I actually told a person once, be the drunk version of yourself, but maybe we shouldn't go that far. But give yourself permission to be yourself. Give yourself permission to use a bit more casual language, and catch yourself from using jargons, and think about those words and what they actually mean,
Mm.
and rewrite it so that it becomes more human. If you talk to your parents that way, would they understand? I think that's a great, great barometer to use. And the second thing is that, for particularly for personal brands, it's that don't be afraid to not just be yourself, but bring elements yourself, and show people how you feel. I think that there's an edge to personal branding in
Mm.
LinkedIn over corporate branding, is that you don't need sign off from people to hit when you press that post button, and you don't need sign off from 30 people to go, is this how we're feeling together as a company?
Right.
And because of that, you're able to show emotions, right? You're able to say, I'm excited for I'm say you're at a trade show, and I think this is a classic thing that we do on LinkedIn that we can easily rectify. Instead of going instead of taking a picture of the event and going, I'm in booth like 7A, come see and say hi. It's like, nobody. I have never met a single person that goes, thank goodness you wrote this, because I would never have known where you are, and I'm
Right.
here to say hello to you now. It's like, no, nobody cares, right? If they wanted to see you at the event, they would. But this is a moment to show why you're there, and the
Right.
emotions that you can show. Are you excited to see people that you haven't seen in a while in the industry? Are you happy to be in the community of the industry that you're in? Is there a person that you met in this event that you're like, that this is a really cool person, and I can't believe I met them? Those are all emotions. Those are all meaningful content
Right.
beyond just, I'm here. And so I think that, again, give yourself permission to not just loosen the tie, but also show emotions as well.
Brilliant. I mean, great little tips there that any of us can adopt and just enhance our LinkedIn game on that front. So yeah, I'll certainly be taking those to heart and seeing what else I can do on that space. So,
And if anybody's watching right now or listening to right now, and they're still doing it, I'm at stand 7B, man, I'm gonna come after you.
Superb. And you're 9'6"
I'm not gonna say, you gotta watch out.
Superb. And if I think about, social media in particular, it's such a quick moving game, and things are changing. You've got to be on top of your game in order to help others as well. So what are the sort of things that you do to make sure that you are on top of your game and giving the best to your clients?
You know what's funny is that this is a secret. Don't tell anyone. But luckily, I'm not on a podcast to tell this. But I actually don't read a lot.
Okay.
Which is a surprise. Yeah, that face is
Well,
what
no,
a
no.
lot of
I
people do.
Part of the reason I'm saying that, I don't read a lot either. Not enough that I should. I do a lot of listening and other bits, but I'm not a big reader. So
That's exactly it. For me, I've always been a feeler,
right,
right? I've always participated in the social media channels that I work in, or I like to say play in, because when I play in it, I start feeling how people respond to content. I
right,
start feeling how looking at the engagement that it gets. So I spend a decent amount of time on LinkedIn. And my kids would tell me I spend too much time on TikTok.
right.
Um, but for me, that's how I kind of keep up to date with these things, is to actually just participate in them. I think a lot of people, when they look at LinkedIn, they go, oh, I'm not sure how to start. And it's like, well, of course, because you're not a part of it, right? You haven't been posting, you haven't been reading, you haven't been you're on the outside looking in and going, probably thinking, how do I make this into a tool for me?
Right.
And if that's the mentality, that's gonna be really hard to do, because unless you've got a team of like amazing, like, social media content creators and managers, you're never going to fully understand how to participate in this community.
Right.
And the community will smell this from a mile away, that you're here just to go, hey guys, please give me work, or
Yeah.
please, like, please give me something, rather than,
Right.
here, I'm here to give you something.
Yeah.
And I think that's if you want to keep up to date, start going in now. Start.
Mm,
Don't be afraid. Don't be scared by the Gary Vaynerchuks, right?
mm,
Where you look at their content and go, I can never be like this guy. Of course you can. That guy's built his empire on being very brash, being very loud, and that's not you, and that's
mm.
okay
Right.
because do the work to find out who you are. Get to the whys. In fact, send me find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM. I'll give you the starter kit for free, right? And to get you started, get those questions going,
Right.
and really ask yourself who you are and what you offer. That's the beginning of your journey.
Mm,
If there was any lessons I've learned in my B2C time, right? When I was at Just Eat, it was about the television shows and being part of pulp culture. Then I moved over to Pret a Manger, where I had to completely ditch that because the focus wasn't on what was outside. The focus on what was happening inside.
right.
What were the chefs doing? Why they choose certain ingredients? I was at a time there when they launched Veggie Prep, which was a response to the vegan and vegetarian scene that was
Right.
growing, and they were one of the first brands to do it. And that story was more important than anything else that was going on. So the lessons I learned from there is very applicable to our personal LinkedIn content, which
Yeah.
is ultimately, if you know what your story is and you tell that well, it doesn't matter what's happening on the outside.
Right.
What matters is you're able to tell your story the best way possible.
Oh, wonderful stuff. And I think that there's a lot of internal reflection that people can do to get themselves really understanding who they are, what they provide, what's their unique history and what's their unique selling point that can feed into the content that you can put out there. But the content that's there that you can consume and just learn from is there already, isn't it? And for you to go out there and just see what works for you and what resonates for you, and yeah, I've been a big fan of LinkedIn for a long time, so glad that we've got people who are helping others along that route as well. So which maybe takes me into my next question. If with the skill set that you've got or the experience that you've got, who would you most like to help perform?
I would say first of all, the ones that comes to mind first is business leaders, right? Because I feel like there's an appetite out there. We are looking at LinkedIn going, I know this is a place I need to be better at.
Right.
And we're a bit gun shy because of all the elements that are outside and going, I don't know how to do this because I don't want to sound like them,
Right.
and I certainly don't want to sound salesy. So what do I do? So that's why that's the first type of people I like to help. I think there's a growing group of people I like to help too, which is marketers who are who are tasked to help their business leaders, the CEOs, the CMOs, and their profile higher on LinkedIn. Once upon a time I was part of that as well, where you're just doing your marketing thing and all of a sudden somebody comes in and goes, yo, like we got to make our CEO look great on LinkedIn. It's like, well, how do I do that? And it can be very daunting
Mm,
because there are so many factors. And it's like it's a personal channel. How do you make this personal channel as personal as possible, but you probably don't have access to this person 24/7. You
right.
probably don't have he or she probably doesn't have the time to sit down with you and tell you the life story. So how do you crack that code?
Mm,
And yeah, I've been helping clients doing that too. So I think that's another kind of type of people I like to help out with.
fantastic. So if there's anybody out there listening, then Anthony's definitely your man in terms of getting yourself set up and running on that front. And even if you're out there working in that space already and you've got a LinkedIn game going on, you want to up it, then he's got some amazing stuff to help you. But if I'm going to flip that question a little bit, if you were able to sit down and have a meal, have a drink, have a coffee with somebody to help you perform, someone you could learn from, who would you want that to be?
I have never been asked that before. That's a great question. And I'm stalling right now by blabbing. You know who I wanted to, and I feel like his aura has cracked. If you asked me about 5, 6 years ago, it would have been The Rock.
Okay.
Because he's a bit cringy now. So I'm like, maybe not. But I feel like back 6 years ago, he's managed to pivot so many times in his career.
Yeah.
And at that point, he managed to create a persona that was very personable,
Mm.
very personal, and felt very honest as well. And I would love to pick at that point pick his brain as to how his mindset changed from being a professional wrestler to an actor to somebody that was more.
Yeah.
And I think at that time that would have been great. But I feel like I've gotten over him. So he's yeah. So I'm not sure
Well,
who to have a meal with to how to get better.
well, this is a magical kingdom, so we'll make it The Rock from 6 years ago. How about that?
Brilliant. Yes. That
Fantastic.
that guy 6 years ago was awesome.
Yeah.
So
And so finally, we talked a little bit about it, but how do people get in touch with you? I think I know the primary way that people can get in touch, but how do they reach out and get in touch with you?
you will be shocked that you can find me on LinkedIn. But if LinkedIn isn't your game, shoot me an email. Anthony at Mean Right Hook, right being WRITE, not RIGHT. So
Yep.
Anthony at meanrighthook.com. And find me there. I'd love to have a chat with anybody who, just wants to pick my brain or wants to level up. And I love talking to you, Paul, because people who just want to be helpful, that's a good energy. And this was a great energy.
No, superb. And as always, we'll have all those links for people. Do reach out, take the opportunity. I think there's the LinkedIn game in particular is something that we can all up our own game, get the advantage for ourselves, and just get our messages out there. So I think it's a great mechanism for doing that and getting your brand out there. And it's great to see people like yourselves, Anthony, who are helping people along the way to up their game. So thanks so much for being on the show today, Anthony Leung.
Hey, thanks for having me, Paul. I'm looking forward to LinkedIn sucking less.
Cheers. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, then please give the podcast a rate, review, and share. I'm Paul Teasdale, and from sausage making to banking, oil and gas to Formula One, I help people perform. If you'd like to find out more and have a conversation, contact me via helpingpeopleperform.com.